Welcome to Choices on WSTX 970 AM. I am your host, your senior host, that is, Norman John Baptiste, also known as Bapo. And with me right now, this moment, is M Love. We're expecting Anu to join us shortly. I understand that Shanice is down with the flu, and so she won't be joining us this evening. And of course, we're expecting our guest, Dr. Eldon Hopkins, to join us in short order. Andy, go ahead and say hello.
Good night, listening audience. Happy Friday to everybody. I hope you guys are having a lovely Friday evening. Um, Shanice, we're missing you tonight, but we do hope that you have a speedy recovery with that flu because I heard it's pretty bad. So, God's quick recovery.
All right, and I hope that you folks out here in the territory, you're staying safe and healthy. It's a good feeling to know that what the folks are experiencing in the mainland, we're not experiencing that here in the territory. But we did have a little brush with some inclement weather past couple of days. Um, I saw some videos of the ocean scene here in St. Croix. It looked pretty rough, and of course, we had some high winds. We had power outages over in the St. Thomas St. John district. So we got a touch of it, sort of like a tail end. And I hope the weather stays good because we have the Ag Fair coming up starting next weekend. Next weekend, we're having the agricultural food fair on St. Croix. So we hope that all goes well, the weather behaves, so that we can have a remarkable, enjoyable food fair. And then, of course, we also move into the celebration of Valentine's. It's the time when people exchange love messages and what have you. So, February is the month of
Love.
love, the month of recognition of, how should I put it, the contributions of Africans. I say
Yeah,
Africans.
Black History Month.
Not, I don't say African Americans, I say Africans, because whether you're Afro Caribbean, African American, um, no matter where you live, as Peter Tosh says it, as long as you're a black man, you're an African. And I would hope that we can focus on what binds us together as one, as opposed to the things that separate us. Let's look at the common threads, the madras that binds us together, and focus on that instead of those little things that tend to separate us. I know even right now we're experiencing some, how should I put it? Um, it's not exactly upheaval, but some moments of discomfort that we're experiencing at the present point in time, because of all what's happening with the problems between the United States of America and some 75 countries where um, immigrant visas have been placed on pause, many of the Caribbean islands included. And one thing I want to caution us as Caribbean people in particular, but more so as Africans, the largest number of countries impacted by the pause are countries, areas where colored people reside, nations of colored people, people of African descent. And I would hope that simply because some people seem to have a better position than others, that they shouldn't feel superior and allow that to put a wedge between us. Now we are expecting a guest this evening, Dr. Eldon Hopkins. I him showing up on the live stream, but we did send the link
Is that, is
over
that
to
not
him.
in there?
Let's see.
In the bottom.
Is that him in the bottom? I'm not too
Yes.
sure. Eldon, Dr. Eldon.
He said he was getting on.
Um, Dr. Hopkins, are you with us? Okay, I have not. I don't know. I'm watching those links down below. We've got a couple of links. Uh, hmm.
Total joint replacement.
All right, so there you have it, folks. Those of you who are with us via radio, we are having some glitches, some technical difficulties. I see we're back up on Facebook. Um, Dr. Hopkins, are you there with us? I'm not hearing.
See, oh yeah, he told you to. Could you move one of the volume?
Turn up the volume.
But he's
10
coming.
minutes. Yeah.
All right, just hold on, Dr. Hopkins. We're trying to. Hmm,
Was that the one?
there's this one here. I even forget which one
No,
he said.
I think you may have been the blue.
I'm not hearing you, Dr. Hopkins, but my producer is on his way, coming to see how he can fix that glitch. Meanwhile, of course, some folks, you heard the reading of Dr. Hopkins' bio by Mandy, and so as soon as we get this fixed, we're gonna have Dr. Hopkins interfacing with us. Let me just say a little more about Dr. Hopkins. He has been to the territory on several occasions. As a matter of fact, he's married to a native Virgin Islander, and by the way, that native Virgin Islander is also in the medical profession, and so he has quite a deep love for these islands. I recall at one time in the past, he wanted to do some stuff here, to give some services, to folks here in the territory. But the arrangement he was looking for, basically, he wanted a place at the hospital where, after he had rendered service to folks, that they had a place to recuperate, and that didn't work out for some reason. We always run into those roadblocks where people aren't, they're not, I don't know, whenever we're trying to assist our folks here in the territory, we always run into some kind of setbacks, blocks, impediments. I recall at one time we're trying to work something out to get some folks with the Florida Spine Institute to come here in the territory and to set up shop. And again, we run into some challenges, some impediments. It is just sad. We had a wonderful heart specialist down here in the territory, native son. And again, for a number of reasons, he encountered difficulties. Um, how should I put it? Impediments in terms of trying to get things done here in the territory, and so eventually he had to leave and go overseas. So we're trying to see what we can do to contain those challenges. It's been difficult, but I always believe that there is a silver lining to every dark cloud. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. So hopefully we're gonna get there. Um, I don't want I don't want to just simply move any. Let's see.
I don't want to touch anything
Um,
that may.
Dr. Eldon, if you're
Oh, we lost
we lost him again.
it. Yes.
Wow. All right. Mandy, I would suggest why don't you try calling him on your phone, because my phone is giving me some trouble, some difficulties.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, he's back on. Can you hear us, Dr. Eldon?
He probably can, but see if
But
you
we're
could-
we're not
what
hearing
if
you.
you
Let's
want-
hold a second. Can you hear us now? We're not hearing you. Go ahead and say something. Let's see if we can hear you. All right. Are we hearing you? No, we're not. All right. You said Josh is coming, right?
Mhm.
Said he's coming? Okay. Josh, the producer, should be here shortly. No, we're still not hearing you. And Ninja is not around. All right. We're having some difficulties, but hopefully Josh will be in shortly to get this fixed. There he is. We're not hearing from Dr. Hopkins. We saw him, but we're not hearing.
Oh no.
Dr. Hopkins, can you try coming in? Let's hear you. Are you with us? We're not hearing you.
Oh, I think they got texting. Oh, he can't hear us.
He's not hearing us?
No.
Are you hearing us now?
Maybe I need to give him another number.
Let's just do the phone.
All right, I'll tell you what.
Just do a regular phone call.
Just go ahead and, since we're having difficulties, just go ahead and dial the following number. 340.
Wait, he can't hear. So
He's
I'm
not
gonna
hearing
fix
us?
it.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanna.
How come he can't hear us? Try a different number. A
Nope.
different StreamYard number.
No. So it's a browser. You just sign in and you should be connected. It's connected to Facebook.
Tell him this call. We'll do it telephonically. All right. That's it. Sometimes, technology just lets us down. Right, Anu?
Yes, I agree.
And we run into those situations, but we have to manage. We have to manage that. So, is your mic connected?
I have no idea, but I just like it there.
We connected. We all connected, Josh?
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead and say hello to the folks. Say good evening.
Good evening. I hope everyone is doing well. I look forward to the conversation.
Yeah. We want to get a conversation started. We're just having some difficulty. But anyway, as I
Part
said,
of life.
as I explained earlier on, we read his bio so that those who are connected with us know all of what he's done. Is that him calling in here now? Hello?
Hello, Norman.
Yes, we got you. So we'll just do this telephonically. We'll deal with the challenge and setbacks to the best of our ability. So it's good to have you on. We shared your bio earlier on. So go ahead and give a shout out to folks before we get into our discussion. Here with me, by the way, I've got Anu here with me and M Love and along myself, of course. So we'll hold a dialogue, or not. It's not a dialogue. What's it? This conversation, this discourse. Yes. So go ahead and say hello.
All right, everybody. Hello, St. Croix. Happy to be here. I hate that the connection is not working because I can see you guys, but no connection on voice at all.
Well, we'll make do with that so that we can share information with the folks who are listening, those who have joined us via Facebook. And so even though they're not seeing the face, but they're going to hear the voice, and of course, based on the exchanges that we have, hopefully they can gain some, valuable information this evening.
Okay, sounds good.
Now, I took the liberty of letting folks know that you're married to a native Virgin Islander. I didn't tell them who the person is or whether the person is from St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. John, or even in terms of even St. Croix, whether that person is from Frederickstead, Christiansted. No, I didn't go into details. I simply mentioned that your other half is a native Virgin Islander and also involved in the medical profession. I hope you don't mind that.
Yes, sir. No, that's fine.
All right. And I did mention also that you had an interest in rendering service here in the past, but you run into some impediments because you're looking for a place at the hospital, a place where there could have been a phase of recuperation from whatever procedure had been carried out, and there was some difficulty in getting that done or arranged, if I may. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
And I'll tell you the difficulty was not on my end.
All right. Okay.
It never is.
And it's good that folks know that the difficulty was not on your end, but on the other end. Wow. Hopefully we'll get to contain those difficulties at some point in the future. So what I'd like you to do for us right now is to tell us a little about orthopedic surgery, because we've already discussed your bio with the folks, but tell us a little about orthopedic procedures, where you see that heading in the future as we go deeper into the digital age, and just share some quick facts with us before we go into a question and answer session.
Okay, well, orthopedics is the medical discipline that deals with bones and joints and bone and joint health. My specific area is I do replace the joint and give the joint new surfaces to take away the pain.
Okay. So I have a quick question. So, people who have issues like, say you bow-legged or you knock me. I know there's a medical term for them. I can't remember the actual name right now. You deal with that. You help them if they have.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I correct those deformities.
Awesome.
Okay. Now, unfortunately, Dr. Hopkins, we won't be able to take telephone calls from the public. But I have a set of questions. Anu has questions, and M-Love also.
I already shot my first one.
We all have questions, so hopefully, in terms of the question and answer exchange, people who are listening and viewing will be able to get enough information that's beneficial to them. It's just unfortunate that because we have you on the line, it's going to be a little challenging for us to put you on hold to get a caller in with questions. And me personally, I am so challenged when it comes to these gadgets that, I won't be able to handle it. So we'll go and talk about orthopedics, what it means, how folks here in the territory can benefit from your services, and hopefully we can even forge a vision whereby in the future you can, right here at home, render services to people. And by the way, let me ask you, have you had patients who are from the Virgin Islands?
Yes, I've had some.
Okay.
That have family that live in the Dallas area.
Okay. All right. And that's, I just noticed when I was reading your bio, because obviously part of your training came from Atlanta, Georgia area, Dallas, Texas, La Jolla, California. And as I was reading that, I realized that all of those areas, metropolitan areas on the mainland, have a number of Virgin Islanders who live in those areas. So that, in a sense, is reassuring, comforting, if I may, that we have somebody with your knowledge and expertise who have been so close to Virgin Islanders beyond that that fact that you're married to a Virgin Islander, native Virgin Islander. Yes, Mali, let me hear you.
So, could I just get a breakdown on how much somebody would have to save if they need to have surgery to correct? Is it called? What is it called? Vagus, not knee.
Valgus is a knock knee.
Yeah.
And then varus is a bow leg.
Uh-huh.
How much how much would a surgery cost to correct those issues? Because I know as you age, that those joints for the bow legs and the knock knee, they could be very tedious on you, like just cause so many issues for you.
Right, that's correct. But fortunately the surgeries are covered by most of the insurance plans. But for someone that doesn't have insurance, the cash price would be somewhere around 20 to 25,000.
All right, that doesn't
including all of the charges, the hospital, the surgery, the fees of the implants, and all that stuff, and that's everything rolled in.
That doesn't sound very steep. 25,000 to get your extremely bow legs straightened out, to take that knock knee and set it so that you have a beautiful pair of legs, so that especially for ladies who find themselves in that unfortunate predicament, the guys can take a second look. Certainly sounds good. Let me ask you, for the benefit of those who are listening and viewing, let me ask you a question in terms of preventative approaches. If you were to give our viewers and listeners one piece of advice to keep their bones and joints healthy into the golden years, what would that be?
The one of the biggest things is to try to make sure that when we do impact exercises, light bracing, to just a light brace, just to support, like for the knee.
Mm-hmm.
The knee is the most common injured joint, and just a light support for sports activities and impact loading activities will help. Vitamin D is important for bone health, and eating a balanced diet, which will, by definition, make the help us meet our dietary needs for calcium.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask
Strong
you.
bones.
Okay, since you talk about vitamin D, and I know that for African Americans, we generally can get vitamin D from exposure to sunlight, and of course
Correct.
our population here is predominantly African American or African, if I may use that expression. So, question is beyond vitamin D, beyond drinking milk, from which we supposedly it's a good source for calcium. What about the supplements like collagen, chondroitin, etc., glucosamine? Do these things have any real value, or it's just hype when people talk about you taking those supplements to preserve bone integrity, bone health, joint health, etc.?
Yeah, those things, unfortunately, I'm going to have to label those as being under the umbrella of hype. I would tell people to, on the glucosamine and chondroitin to save their money.
Mm-hmm.
The claims are that glucosamine and chondroitin rebuild cartilage, the cushion in the joint,
Mm-hmm.
and or preserve it, and that's just simply not true.
Mm-hmm.
The people who say they have some benefit, this has been studied, it's largely a placebo effect, right?
Wow.
So if you believe it, and have somebody says, hey, this is great for you, just the encouragement in their head will give them some benefit.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take out the placebo factor, there's no difference between these pills, and taking, a pill that doesn't have anything in it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no value in that.
Mm-hmm.
Collagen that you take by mouth is not digested to get to the joints, so it's just not a real vehicle and method to get these substances where they need to be, and so there's a lot of false claims on that. So the biggest thing is going to be preservation of what we have, right? To make it last. For bone health and for ladies when they are post-menopause, it can be important to keep up and ahead of premenopause or perimenopause to start with keeping up with calcium and vitamin D for to make the bone strong.
Mm-hmm.
And keep them strong, because perimenopause, postmenopause, especially postmenopause, bone density goes down and makes bones more brittle and at risk for fracture.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you now, and before I allow Anu to come in with a question, let me ask you one other thing along those lines. What about activation of stem cells? Is there any way that we can activate stem cells with a view towards some preservation, promotion?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Norman. The stem cells are a cell that has the potential to become anything. They are the cells that everything comes from. Our skin, our bones, our hair, our eyes, everything. The stem cell can become anything depending on what genes turn in it. So stem cell injections in the realm of joint health and restoration, stem cells have been used to help to rebuild damaged cartilage and injured and repair injured joints. Stem cells, I have worked with them, and I will tell you they do work as long as you get to the patient before they lose all of the cartilage thickness down to bone. So you can rebuild cartilage that's present to thicken it, but you can't grow it when it's all gone. Okay. So the problem with stem cells is true stem cells, which come from the umbilical cord. They're not fetal cells, but they're on the mother's side of the umbilical cord. Those stem cells were taken away because doctors were abusing and misusing them for other services that just the interest of cash money, which unfortunately resulted in some patients being hurt. So the government took it away. So currently, they will probably come back, but currently, claims of stem cells and the use of stem cells, like stem cells from fat, stem cells from an adult patient's blood, these are not real stem cells. They've been tested and they don't match up to a real stem cell. So there's a lot of false claims because of the money that that people can see from advertising stem cells. So for right now, true stem cells are not available.
Wow.
But they did work well, and hopefully the government will bring them back. But they took them away for patient and public safety, because doctors were misusing them.
So let me ask you, I'm certain those restrictions, those prohibitions pertain to the United States of America. Are there countries where experts in the field have access to umbilical cord stem cells that they're making use of?
Yes, there are, but a lot of, like, for example, a lot of athletes are going to different countries to get stem cells. The only problem about these, some of the countries that patients are going to get stem cells, I'll be honest with you, you do not know what you're getting. So there's no proof of what you're getting. The one thing about, at least in the United States, if umbilical cord stem cells, when they were available, only came from very specific places who passed, a lot of tests to be able to dispense to physicians who have been dispensed to the public. So there was a lot of control around this. The one control that the government couldn't do, as much as they begged physicians to do the right thing, is to be in the office without, to stop people from doing things they shouldn't do. They just couldn't get that granular with it. So yes, stem cells are available in other countries, but you have to be very careful to know what you're getting, because it's really, you don't know, and they're not policed the way they are here.
All right. Anu, you ready for your question?
I was listening,
Oh.
but well, I just was kind of curious on how important does your genetics play when it comes to longevity? Like you were saying, the cartilage starts to break down, bones become brittle. how important how important is it when it comes to your genetics? Like, how big of a factor does that play?
Well, so I will, before I answer that, that's a good question, but I would separate out bone, fragility and how fragile bones are. I would separate that out. I'll answer it, but I'll separate that from cartilage longevity, because
Okay.
those are two different things. So for cartilage, how long cartilage will last, and there's only an 18% genetic component to arthritis, which is loss of cartilage, and therefore how long cartilage will last. So that means there's a lot of other factors, 82% other things, other than genetics, like what are we hard on our joints? Are we sports players? Are we, are we more sedentary? So there's a lot of factors that play into longevity. Again, only 18% is genetic. With regard to bone density issues and osteoporosis, brittle bone disease, if you will. I don't like that term, but it's a term that many are familiar with. That is, as we all age, women more than men lose bone density because estrogen is a big component for women, is a big component of bone density, and that's why postmenopausal women, the bone density goes down. Osteoporosis is more prevalent in thin Caucasian females. This is true. So so from the standpoint of racial backgrounds, that's a true fact. But by pure genetics, it doesn't really play directly, into it directly for bone density.
So it's more important for like how you take care of your body and being lucky, of course.
Correct.
So then let me ask you, Doctor. We have here in the Virgin Islands in particular, women outnumber the men. Perhaps very significantly. When I look around, it seems like we have like about 3 women at least to every man. So question is, the Virgin Islands population is now aging. We've entered a phase where the majority are people in the older age bracket. So what can postmenopausal women do in the Virgin Islands to be in a preventative mode? What would you suggest to them that they begin to do in terms of whether it is exercise, what can they do to preserve?
So,
yeah, go ahead.
Yes, it's a combination of some simple factors. Calcium, right? Taking calcium, vitamin D, which is both available over the counter. The best form of calcium, elemental calcium, rather than a pill, is Tums. 2 Tums a day gives you all the calcium that you need.
I didn't get that.
Tums.
What's that?
What's Tums?
Tums for you talking about
Tums like the antacid.
That's what.
Oh,
yeah. That's
Okay.
what I was asking.
Interesting.
Yeah. So for
In the pharmacy.
people that don't want to take a pill, the Tums will give you the same amount of calcium that you need. Exercise, even just walking, is also good. First, bones respond to weight bearing, so fall
Interesting.
prevention
Mhm.
is also an important for our older population.
Mhm.
You know, for our older family members to kind of fall proof their homes,
Mhm.
taking away loose rugs, trip hazards,
Mhm.
and simple things.
Yeah.
Can prevent falls to the bones as we age, regardless of what we do, are going to be more brittle than when we're younger.
Mhm.
And so as we get older, just fall prevention, just very basic functions, can put, healthy bones and keep away from fracture.
Is there a test that people, male and female, 50 years of age and over, can take to determine the density, the integrity, the health of the bones?
Yes.
There is?
Yes. The test is called a bone density test.
Okay. Okay.
Or a DEXA, DEXA scan.
Mhm.
And these scans, I'm almost positive, were available in the Virgin Islands, and they can give a analysis of the quantity of bone that we have. The
Mhm.
test looks at the wrist, the hip, and the low back.
Mhm. Is there
It's just bone density at each of those areas.
we have a high incidence of diabetes and high blood pressure in the Virgin Islands,
Heart disease.
heart disease, kidney failure, etc. Do any of these things have anything to do with the integrity of your bone health, your joint health, etc.?
I would tell you, out of the ones that you mentioned, the only one that has a direct and indirect relation is kidney failure
Okay.
and kidney disease.
Wow.
The kidneys interplay indirectly with bone health. They're part of bone metabolism indirectly. So
Mhm.
when the kidney doesn't work, it actually can affect bone density indirectly.
Let me ask you another thing. For the guy who is, I speak of the guys because I'm a male. I'm growing older. I want to live to be 120. And I want to make sure that I'm in good health. So let me ask you, if at 50 you begin to have aches and pains, and I wonder if there are some people actually can hear little sounds, you know, creaking, what have you. Is there any wisdom for those of us who are afraid of surgery and stuff like that to say, well, I'm going to put it off until I'm about, say, I'm 65, 70, as opposed to having joint replacement at age 50? Is there, in other words, is there a best by age when one should consider having joint replacement surgery?
Well, so there's different views, on that. There are, I subscribe to the philosophy, as many of my patients do. First, it needs to be understood that fans are at any age. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the youngest joint replacement patient the youngest patient that I've done a joint replacement on is 17.
Mm-hmm.
So, now that's a special circumstance when people are that. But the operations sometimes are necessary, to allow people to live a pain-free life.
Mm-hmm.
But what the most important thing is, the younger the patient, the more exacting the surgical technique has to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it will last, it will take, and it will work. But but I ascribe to the philosophy that you do joint replacement when it negatively impacts the quality of life enough quality of life years make a difference too, right?
Mhm.
So if you're 50 and you have a bone-on-bone knee, and you're 75 and have a bone-on-bone knee, now I will tell you, my 60-year-old patients say they don't want to wait until they're 75 and lose 25 years of quality life
Mhm.
years when they could be doing, and wait until they're 75 when they're not able to do as much.
Mhm.
So that philosophy to me makes sense.
Mhm.
So you do the joint replacement, when it's necessary. You don't do it before.
Mhm.
It's not preventative. You do it when the symptoms warrant, and longevity of the implant is dictated by two factors. One, placing it correctly. But two, there's a patient factor to not tear it out. Not do things like running and heavy impact loading things, which will wear the plastic bearing faster and make it wear out.
Mhm.
So it's a tricky thing, because when you operate the younger patient, especially young men, they're going to do things that will challenge the joint replacement and will make it last, not very long.
I see.
Because in young men less than 50, certainly less than 40, joint replacements, only 70% make it 10 years.
Mhm.
When 99.7% of people above 60, it lasts, at least 10 years. And at 20 years, the survivorship is, approaches 97%.
Mhm.
So these things last a long time if patients will take care of them,
Mhm.
So, and the average lifespan, for anybody that is wondering what is the longevity, longevity of implants average 20 to 25 years.
Mhm.
So that means if it's an average, that means that people are getting 30, 35 and beyond. And then there's the young men, we can't exclude them. The young men are getting less than 10, and they bend the curve down to make it 20, 25.
Mhm.
So there's a curve that excluded them. The average lifespan will be over 30 years.
Are you ready? Oh.
Me?
Uh-huh.
No. I'm
Oh,
just
all right.
reading
Okay.
it.
All right. Let me just segue into something. Let me ask you, Dr. Hopkins. We live in a Caribbean area. We're surrounded by water. We have the ocean. To what extent swimming and even walking in the sea sand can be beneficial to our joints?
Yeah, so swimming and walking in the water, water negates. So swimming obviously is a good exercise. It's non-weight bearing. So you're not non-impact loading, that is. And even walking in the water, it negates the effect of weight, and so there's less pressure on the joint.
Mhm.
So it's a good conditioning exercise, and for people that do have, arthritis, getting in water, is good, because you can get exercise. Like if walking on land hurts,
Mhm.
walking in the water will negate the effect of putting full weight bearing on it,
Mhm.
and with the sake of still exercise. So I'm a strong proponent of that.
Okay. What would you say to our young females who are professionals who work in offices who have to sit for long periods of time and sitting that has negative impact? What would you say to them? They're wearing high heel shoes to go to work because our people want to look good, and a woman in high heels, red high heel shoes, and a red outfit looks good. So, what do you say to our young females who love the high heel shoes, who sit for long hours in terms of, caution, a word of caution to them? Because I just, reading some stuff, listening to what you have to share with us this evening, and my personal observation of these young ladies walking in those stilts, having to sit for long hours on the job. How does that impact the posture, the bone health and integrity? And what's your take on that?
Yeah, a couple of things to that. So that's several items, that you outlined. The first, for people that work inside, men and women, right? You know, the so we talked about, vitamin D. Vitamin D is important because we talked about it already, but what I didn't directly correlate is the need for sun. The sun makes the vitamin D active, right? And so it activates it. So exposure to sun is important. So if we work inside, we're not getting exposure to sun. But there is no shortage of sun in the Virgin Islands, right? So when you get off the work, you could get your sun with a walk or with going to a park or to the beach or just doing something where you're getting outdoors. So that's that, and I'm sure there's that no one forgets that. As far as high heel shoes, these shoes are very bad for the feet. And every young lady that wears these things, when they are older, their toes are all twisted and mangled up. It does not look good, right? Because the human foot was never made for a shoe like that, right? Because if you look at them, the little pointy toes and whatnot, our toes don't shape like that. So how do you put your foot in that? So the toes have to crowd, get on top of each other just to fit into it. And you do that for years and years on end, it destroys the foot. So these things are not good. And the high heels with the pointy heels, like you were talking about, it's bad for the ankle. So I'm not here to pretend to tell young ladies what shoes to wear.
Well, I'm glad.
To pay for it later.
I'm glad you're sharing that with us and those who are listening and viewing, because I used to be in the fashion business at one time. I had several stores where I sold women's clothing, shoes, etc. And I know that I always like to get some nice pumps for them. That's what we call them, right, Irene? The pumps, which is a better shoe. It's flat and it's pretty round at the front, which to me is better than the high heel pointed, the roach killers, if I may. Yes, Andy, you're going to ask a question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So I'm somebody who likes to lift weight. Some would say heavyweight, but I try to keep it roughly, I would say 30 to 40 pounds under my PR. Is there any way to continue doing something like that and avoid future issues like what you were saying, similar to that of the young ladies who wear the shoes? So I'm guessing it's unavoidable, but I just wanted to hear your breakdown of it.
Working out and conditioning, with weights is it's good on the one hand, but it's important to have proper form so we don't hurt our joints, hurt our back. And there are some exercises that are bad for hips and knees. And those things are heavy weight leg presses.
Ooh, I don't do that.
Pushing weight. Lunges, which is more of the ladies' exercise. Squats. For men and women. Very, very bad for the hip and the knee.
Wow.
What about deadlifting?
you know, that is very tough on the knees and the back. And rowing machine is also bad for the hip and the knee. You know, so especially very heavy weights, you know, being able to do it and say, oh, wow, look how strong I am, this and that, and the other. It's not a sustainable thing, you know, and there's a price to pay later, you know, for some of these things.
I'm just glad you said that.
There's a healthy way to work out, and you know, and preserve the joints.
I recently stopped squatting, and I never could stand deadlifting because whenever I would deadlift, especially past a certain amount of weight, even though I could do it, I would always have a lower back pain, like it would like immediately heat up.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I will tell you that no matter how proper the form, the back is going to be impacted with deadlifting.
thank you.
Well,
Interesting.
Dr. Hopkins, I have to ask you something, and that's very personal. When I was in my 20s, mid-20s, I got myself involved in an accident, a vehicle accident, and I had compression fractures of the lower back area. It was recommended that I took some therapy following my release from hospital, but I never followed up with that advice. And from time to time, I've had some discomfort in the lower back area, but I've been living life normally. Recently, I saw on the internet where they're saying that for men who want to preserve prostate health as well as sexual health, they need to engage in something, I think it's called Kegel exercises. And then I saw some examples of that I really didn't trust, because the way how you have to raise your lower back from the floor, and having had that accident, I was a little wary of whether I should get involved in that. So I don't know how much you may know about that and what you would recommend or word of caution you would share with me as far as personally, because that's my personal case, but there may be somebody listening, viewing, who have been in such a situation. What would you say about that?
So, I will tell you, I'm a bone doctor. That's not my alley.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I would advise people to, visit those issues with their primary care doctor.
Mm-hmm.
For ladies, they could visit that with their obstetrician, their gynecologist, doctor. For advice on that.
Mm-hmm. But is there any word of caution for somebody who has had lower back injuries in terms of getting involved in any kind of exercise?
Well, I mean, I think people who have low back problems need to learn a low back strengthening and core strengthening program.
Okay.
Which is what was advised to you, and you didn't do it.
Oh.
Because people, the one thing that I can say that is true, and I would have never believed, is the difference between people with bad backs, X-ray bad back, by X-ray, that looks like it needs surgery, and people that hurt and have terrible pain. And then I would see there were some people who had the same X-ray or worse, and it would hurt. The difference, and I began to ask, because when I do this X-rays, I can see the back. I began to ask people, so how is it that you don't hurt? And then invariably they would say, 30, 40 years ago, I had a back injury,
Mm-hmm.
and the doctor sent me to physical therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, what I learned, do it every day for the rest of my life. And I've done that, and my back doesn't bother.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell you, as a training doctor in training, if you told me that, or as a young practicing doctor, if you told me that, I would never believe it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you from experience, witnessing people who had no reason to tell me anything, because I'm not a back doctor, they can say whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
So the importance of core strengthening, for the back, and a low back program which emphasizes strengthening of the core, our abdominal area, is vitally important. So for you, if you never did that when it was advised, yes, that was a mistake to not do it. But it's never too late.
I like that. I like that. It's never too late. The Spanish say más vale tarde que nunca. Oh, I love it. Yeah. I think Anu has another question. Go ahead, Anu.
Well, I just wanted to continue that follow-up question. So, when it came to the working out aspect, so I'm a believer, and I find it is much safer when you utilize like machines that are actually built to help stabilize you during your workouts. So, like free weights, you have to utilize a lot more of your stabilizer muscles. So, would you say that the machines would naturally be safer? Because a lot of people have a different opinion on this.
That's a tricky question, because what your statements are true, but each one of them has their benefits and their downsides, right? So it's hard for me to pick exactly, and say one is wrong and one is right, because I think they both have their place, depending on what the goal of the training is, right?
Would you say what is safer?
For strength and, for muscle conditioning, I think the machine weights and whatnot are going to be at the core and the center. Free weights are going to be more for strength training and building bulk, right? So they both have their place. So you can't really say what is that, but I'll tell you, it is much easier to get hurt with free weights and have injuries than the machines.
Okay. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
So I have a quick question. If somebody suffered an injury where they took a slip, they fell, there was water on the floor and they didn't see, and they fell and they end up twisting their knee, what would you recommend for them to use in terms of say maybe it was a sprain, ice or heat, what would be the better option?
I think for things like that, for sprains and strains and whatnot, that ice, is better. Sometimes alternating ice and heat in the beginning can be helpful, but I'm a fan of ice. And I think that for people who have incidences like, what you just described, pain that doesn't go away, after 3 or 4 weeks, needs evaluation. So in other words, little things go away within a month. Things that persist, there could be more going on and warrants evaluation and X-ray, etc.
We here in the Virgin Islands, we have produced some people with some excellent athletic ability. We had Tim Duncan. We have what's her name, Boston right now, Aliyah. We have Aliyah, who's in the WNBA right now. We had several others, and we've people connected to the Virgin Islands who are presently in the NBA. Those athletes they're prone to injury. And right now, I know a number of young people in high school who have a view towards getting into the NBA. Even my grandson, he keeps talking about how he's going to get into the NBA. He's like hell bent on becoming an NBA player. How can we best advise those young persons, because to prepare themselves for the grueling engagement that's involved in being an NBA player? I know that some people like LeBron, I see LeBron is into his 40s and he's doing what's unimaginable. But we have younger guys, who seem to be getting injured. Like, say, for example, Ja Morant has been sidelined for a number of times because of injuries, and others too. We had the guy Halliburton who had a serious, was it an Achilles heels injury he had, Anu? Halliburton. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, some of them have had some real serious injuries that have sidelined them. So, what do we say to our young athletes here in the territory in terms of giving them that approach, a word of caution, a word of advice to prepare themselves for the what they're going to put their bodies through in the NBA?
So first of all, I have strong feelings about this. And the first thing that I say, which would be no different than I would say to my own children, the chance of getting into the NBA is beyond 1 in 1 million. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So for those that aspire to that, continue to study with us. You can make much further with an education than counting on a 1 in a million shot to make the NBA.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So studying. So that's my first thing I would say.
Mm-hmm.
My first advice would be study.
Mm-hmm.
Make yourself smart.
Mm-hmm.
Because that education is a weapon and a tool no one can take from.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
I hope my grandson is listening. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, well, record it, and or I'll call him. Give me his number. I'll call him.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have his number. I'll call him.
Okay.
And I'm serious. I mean that exactly as I said it.
Mm-hmm.
We in our community, there is too much of a focus on this, right? You don't hear, at least I don't, any vast numbers of any other population talking about, boy, when I get to the NBA, and focusing on sports too heavily, and then ending up like so many of the college players, when they don't make it to the NBA, they can't read and write.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have to depend on a wealthy Caucasian benefactor to the university to give them a job to prop them up.
Mm-hmm.
Because of who they were to the school.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no education.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like using and tossing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one comes. So that's my first thing. That's my first, second, and third point of advice. They're all the same.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad to hear you share that with us, because you see, we have any number of Africans, African Americans, Afro-Caribbean people who have excelled in so many other arenas. Be it in physics, be it in aerospace. We've had them in all kinds of inventions out there, technology-wise, even coding right now. And we're not hearing about the number of millionaires and billionaires we have in fields out there. This is not being impressed upon the young black males in particular. And so they're looking towards that. So I'm glad that you share that with us this evening so that parents can, viewers, listeners can hear for themselves and let them understand that their children can excel in several other fields as opposed to just,
And if, for young people who are truly exceptional athletes, they still need to study the book first before they go practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can't have this reliance on, well, he doesn't need to because he's doing X.
Right.
He's going to be a big star.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens when they're not, or when injury happens.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I'm not a orthopedic sports medicine doctor, right? So I don't take care of the athletes in their youth. I take care of the athletes after they've torn their joints up,
mm-hmm.
and then I rebuild them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you that the reason why the NBA chances and the NFL and all professional sports are such high odds is because these individuals are exceptionally unique, not in their muscles, not in their strength, it's in the balance and the coordination that's innate in them.
Mm-hmm.
That is the competitive of their trends.
Mm-hmm.
Things that would tear the ACL or the ligament in knees, they have an exceptional balance that many don't possess.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference between injury and not. And these individuals are exceptional. They just are.
Wow.
And that is an innate talent. Yes, practice is important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anybody that says it's not, no matter how good you are, remember that Michael Jordan was always, even in his prime,
mm-hmm.
he was the first player on the practice court and the last to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So practice is still important, but there is an innate, not ability, but an innate just balance and protection of between the inner sense of protection in joints and making the difference between injury and not.
Mm-hmm.
And you either have that can't be taught.
Mm-hmm.
You either have that or you don't.
Right. Yeah.
And most people that aspire to do it are not bad.
Mm-hmm.
They're not.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was a sports team doctor, I would tell the players, I would anger a lot of parents, that you're not built for this.
Mm-hmm.
There was a conversation about the valgus knee, right? There are some players that, try to play football that have these knees.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Yeah.
And you have to point that out. It's
mm-hmm.
just not going to happen.
Right.
And all that happens is injury.
Mm-hmm. You're not cut for it. Yeah. You're not cut for it. I got it. I know you had a question.
Well, he already explained it. I was just gonna say I love the fact that he shared that because, it's luck and genetics.
Mm-hmm.
It's a large part of it is your genetics.
Mm-hmm.
If Michael Jordan was 5'1", I guarantee you he would not be the superstar he is today, and that's
mm-hmm.
just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have certain people like Allen Iverson who
mm-hmm. excelled
being a short player, but he was still a good height.
Mm-hmm.
But no rings.
Mm-hmm.
With
mm-hmm.
all of that talent,
mm-hmm.
his genetics just didn't take. And then you have other people who are like 7 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
You have Yao Ming, great player, great everything, but his genetics and his body couldn't handle that mass. That's just a giant. So his knees, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So like Michael Jordan, to me, he was just the genetically
mm-hmm.
gifted human being with a work ethic, like he just explained it, first on the court, last to leave. All of that played a factor. They gave it to him. A lot of people just want to go in believing, oh, I can dribble, I'm gifted, but do you have the genetics to actually take you there? Are you lucky?
Wow.
So everything, like he just said, it's all of it matters. Luck, genetics, the ability to just put everything out there on the court and leave no room for failure. But at the end of the day, if you're not lucky, one injury, all of it's gone.
Doctor, you have something to say on it before I go on? Dr. Hopkins, let me ask you. We're Virgin Islanders. We want, and I say we want the best for our people. We're going through a period of time right now where we're having some experiences in terms of healthcare, health services. Not that we don't have some excellent providers on the island in the private sector, but when it comes to our public hospital, we're having some challenges. And what I want to ask you, if you heard me earlier on, I spoke about doctors who apparently have been forced out of the island because they just couldn't get to do what they would like to do in terms of delivering quality services to their people. So we want, and I say we want to do whatever we can to bring the best to the Virgin Islands, to bring the best out of Virgin Islanders and people connected to Virgin Islanders. So, and I know you have a busy schedule. You're the medical director of the Joint Replacement Service at the Medical City of Frisco, a Joint Commission Certified Center of Excellence in Joint Replacement. You're quite, busy. But what can we do to facilitate you bringing your services here in the territory to Virgin Islanders who may be in need of your services?
So I'm glad you brought that up. Because that way I hope that, and like if you save a clip of this talk, I would say what I'm about to say. That question and this answer. Everyone, no matter where they live, deserves the best of care. And I, have in the past, I offered to bring, because, my wife's family, as you know, is there. We're going to build a home there. And I was intending to come and spend a couple of months, 6 weeks, 2 months, each summer. And this conversation happened probably at least 10 years ago with the then CEO of One Louis. One Louis, sorry. One Louis, I always get that name wrong. Back when it was still there, right? And what I had said is that I would come and bring, my team that I operate with here, my equipment, all of everything it takes for me to do what I do, and bring it to St. Croix, and we work and operate the local hospital. And I wanted to take care of not the people Bye-bye.
All right, folks, we've come full circle this evening. I think it was a wonderful, eye-opening discussion.
Yes.
What do you say, Andrew?
That's actually insane that that offer was presented and the people in leadership roles
Wow.
neglected that.
Wow.
He said free.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Well,
Free. That's
hey.
crazy.
it is what it is. But anyway, until next week, Shanice, we hope you get well. If you're listening, we hope you get well soon. Come on, man. Not just back down. Come on, Shanice. You're strong. You're a virgin. Even though you live on the mainland. Come on, man. Virgin Island is strong. Come on. Full fish and fungi.
Some bush tea.
Bush tea, you know?
Young,
All right.
get the Vicks, honey. You
So-
know how the Vicks do.
So until then, stay safe, be blessed, and give thanks and praises unto the Most High, and we'll reconnect next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Later.
So good, so
All right. Good.
All right.
that was a
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thanks again, Anu.
No, thank you. That was fun. I'm just surprised. I like to listen before I ask a question. And